ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मोकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna and welcome back to today's episode of Mahabharata. In the last episode, we have seen the scheming of Duryodhana against the Pandavas and his plans to send the Pandavas to Varanavata to burn them in a house of shellac. So what happened to the Pandavas? That is, we will see that as we go forward today. We begin today's episode with what happened after Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Krishna grew up under the protection of Nanda Maharaj, who was the stepbrother of Vasudeva, in Gokula. After Krishna became 10 years and 6 months old, Akrura, his uncle, came from Mathura on the order of Kamsa to take Krishna and Balaram back to Mathura. Kamsa's intention was that when Krishna and Balaram would come to Mathura, he would engage various means and kill them. But Krishna and Balaram, because they were the Supreme Personality of Godhead themselves, they came and baffled all the plans of Kamsa and they vanquished Kamsa. And they released Ugrasena, Devaki, Vasudeva and all such people, and they installed Ugrasena back on the throne. After this, Krishna got news about how the Pandavas were under the protection of Dhritarashtra, but Duryodhana was scheming in various ways. And he had also heard how Duryodhana had tried to poison Bhima. Being concerned about their welfare, Krishna asked Akrura, his uncle, to go to Hastinapura and see what exactly is the situation there, how the Pandavas are faring, and come back and report to him. Akrura was a great diplomat and therefore Krishna chose him. Another factor was that Akrura was an elderly person also. This was another reason why Krishna chose Akrura to go and find out what was happening in Hastinapura. On the orders of Krishna, Akrura set out to Hastinapura from Mathura, and he came to Hastinapura, and there he met Dhritarashtra, he met Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Bhishma, he met Duryodhana also, and then he met Kunti Devi. Along with Vidura, because Vidura was always a well-wisher of the Pandavas, Akrura went and met Kunti Devi. The moment Kunti Devi saw Akrura, she remembered her home and she also remembered Krishna and Balaram. And she started praying to Krishna that, "Oh Krishna, my fatherless children and I are caught up in the web of deceit in Hastinapura. Who will protect us? What will happen to us? Not a single day goes without my remembering you and praying for your protection. You are the only person who can really protect the souls in this world. Therefore, I am praying to you, please save us from this dangerous ocean of birth and death. Please accept me as a surrendered devotee of yours." Like this, she prayed to Krishna and she started weeping. Actually, Kunti Devi was a great devotee of Krishna, and she knew the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, in all the dangerous circumstances that she was living in, she could only remember Krishna and no one else. And because she saw Krishna everywhere, when she saw Akrura, she got reminded about Krishna and she started praying and talking as if Krishna was directly in front of her. Actually, Krishna is there everywhere. Andantarastham paramanu chayantarastham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Brahma Samhita states that Krishna, in his incarnation as Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu, as Paramatma, he is present in every atom as well as every living entity's heart. And although the Paramatma is there in your heart, my heart, everyone's heart, and he is also present in each and every atom of this universe, still we cannot see him unless our eyes are tinged with the salve of love. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shyama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Unless one's eyes are tinged with the salve of love for Krishna, one will not be able to see him, although he is present everywhere around us. Because Kunti Devi was a great devotee and she loved Krishna a lot, therefore she could see only Krishna everywhere. And therefore, in front of Akrura, although physically Krishna was not present before her, she started offering prayers as if he was personally present before her. This is possible for you and me also, if we follow in the footsteps of Kunti Devi and we develop unalloyed love for Krishna. We develop unalloyed devotion for Krishna. When Kunti Devi started weeping like this, immediately Vidura and Akrura started pacifying her by glorifying her sons. They started glorifying the wonderful qualities of Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva and started comforting her, saying that your sons are such great heroes. They have such great bodily strength. Not only that, they are so virtuous and righteous. And over and above everything, they are all great devotees of Krishna. So why do you worry? Don't worry. Your sons are eminently capable of protecting themselves. Over and above that, Krishna himself is protecting them. And like this, they pacified Kunti Devi. Now, Akrura, having stayed in Hastinapura for a few months and having studied the situation and the various people there, he finally understood what was happening. He understood that Dhritarashtra was being misguided by his affection for Duryodhana and by the ill advice given by Shakuni and Karna. Therefore, having understood the position, Akrura thought it wise to go back and report to Krishna what the situation was in Hastinapura, so that suitable steps could be taken to protect the Pandavas. Before going back to Mathura, Akrura thought it wise to approach Dhritarashtra and advise him against the scheming that he was doing against the Pandavas. Therefore, Akrura went and approached Dhritarashtra and started talking to him. He told Dhritarashtra that somehow or the other, you have become the king. Actually speaking, Pandu was supposed to be the king, but then due to the twist of circumstances, you have temporarily somehow ascended to the throne. Now that you are on the throne, as a king, you should impartially take care of all your subjects. Although the sons of Pandu are the legal heirs to the throne, even if you are not handing over the throne to them, still you should at least treat them as your citizens. And the duty of a king is to provide equal protection to all his citizens. Even if you consider the Pandavas just as citizens and not as heirs to the throne, still it behooves you to give protection to them and not bring about any harm to them. And like this, in various ways, Akrura tried to advise Dhritarashtra. Not only that, he told Dhritarashtra also that after all, you have to understand that in this material world, all the relationships that we have with various people are very ephemeral. They are not eternal. This material world actually is like a hotel where a lot of people come together and stay. In a hotel, what happens? If we go for vacation to some place, we take a room and stay. And in the opposite room, somebody else will be staying. They may also have come for a vacation for 3 or 4 days. And when we are there, we may get acquainted with them, get to know them, spend a little time with them, have some food with them in the cafe, etc., etc., etc. But we all very well know that this relationship is not going to last, because after a few days, that person will go his way, I will go my way. Maybe we'll never again come to meet each other again in our life. So a hotel is a place where many people come together, stay for some time, and then go their different ways. Similarly, in this material world, the various relationships that we develop with our parents, with our children, with our husband, with our wife, with our friends, with the society, etc. This is all exactly like that. In a hotel, you may be staying for 3-4 days. Here, you may be staying for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 decades. But end result is the same. We all come by the force of karma. We all come together, and after some time, by the force of karma, we are all separated and we go our different ways. Now, when the time we are together, we think that we will eternally be together. And we think by collaborative effort, by all of us cooperatively working together, we can thwart the effects of our destiny, of our karma. We think by a collective effort, we will be able to reduce our miseries and increase our happiness. But fact is, every one of us has our individual karma or destiny. And every one of us has our individual happiness and distress, which is ordained for us in advance according to the activities that we have done in our past lives. And therefore, even though all of us may together try to stop certain miseries from acting, still we see that when an individual has to get afflicted with some life-threatening disease, the disease will still come. Despite the efforts of various people, that disease will take that person's life. Although we may live together and we may be under the false impression that this kind of social living is going to protect us, in reality, none of these things can really protect us. This is an asat sainya that we have created around us. Dehapatya kalatradeshu atma sainyeshu asat swapi. The Srimad Bhagavatam says that we build a family around us, we build an army of friends, relatives, colleagues, etc. around us, thinking that these things will protect me in my moments of danger. But when disease comes knocking at our door, when death comes knocking at our door, all this army that we have built up will be rendered useless. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam says this is all asat sainya. This is an unreal army. This is an illusory army. Like this, Akrura advised Dhritarashtra that he should not be overly attached to Duryodhana like this, because eventually Duryodhana will have to suffer his reactions, Dhritarashtra has to suffer his reactions. One day Dhritarashtra has to die and leave behind everything, Duryodhana has to die and leave behind everything. Why should Dhritarashtra do sinful activities for the sake of a temporary relationship? In this way, Akrura advised Dhritarashtra in many ways. Dhritarashtra, on his part, calmly heard everything. Then he told Akrura that, Akrura, I thank you for your charitable words of advice. I understand that you mean well for me. But your words do not stand in my flickering mind. Just like the lightning, the flickering lightning does not stay permanently in a group of clouds. The lightning strikes and we see the bolt of lightning, and within a fraction of a second it disappears. And then suddenly you will see the lightning is appearing somewhere else. In this manner, lightning is very flickering, it never stays in one place. In a similar manner, your words of advice are not staying in my mind. I know that I have lot of affection for my son which is misplaced, but then I am not able to follow the advice of Vidura, Bhishma and yourself. I am helplessly being drawn towards my son Duryodhana, and I cannot help but do acts which may be unrighteous, which may be sinful, but which I am doing it out of my affection for my son Duryodhana. I understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His will is supreme. Therefore, we have to allow that will of Krishna to manifest itself, and we will see what happens in the future. So like this, Dhritarashtra informed Akrura that although he knew that Krishna is a Supreme Person, although he knew that what he was doing was wrong, although he knew that Duryodhana was an evil-minded person and whatever he was pursuing was sinful, still Dhritarashtra could not help himself. Actually, in the Shastras it is said that Harishye Dhanam Shanaihi. So, Krishna, when he sees that a devotee of his who knows the true position of Krishna, although he is a devotee, he is maintaining so many material attachments, then Harishye Tadhanam Shanaihi, Krishna gradually takes away all his wealth, so that his false affection for his family, his attachment to his wealth, to his position, towards his status, prestige, etc., all these kind of things can be destroyed and he can fully surrender to Krishna. And we can see that the same thing happened even in Dhritarashtra's life. Dhritarashtra understood and appreciated the supreme position of Krishna. At the same time, he was helpless against his affection for Duryodhana. And so therefore, towards the end of the Mahabharata, we will see how Dhritarashtra was actually delivered from his affection for his son and how he liberated himself. Akrura, when he heard the words of Dhritarashtra, he understood that Dhritarashtra was not going to budge from his policy of trying to cheat the Pandavas of their kingdom. Therefore, he took leave of Dhritarashtra and he went back to Mathura and he informed Krishna about what was actually happening. Now, in the meantime, this plan hatched by Duryodhana in consultation with Dhritarashtra, Karna, Shakuni and these people to send the Pandavas to Varanavata and to house them in a house of shellac and burn them down had been set into motion. Now Vidura, because he was very closely linked with all the people in the palace, he heard about this scheming by the Kauravas. And he came across the Pandavas when they were departing for Varanavata. Therefore, Vidura, because it was in front of everyone and he could not find a suitable time where he could confidentially talk to the Pandavas, and as if he was saying goodbye to them, he started speaking to the Yudhishthira. And because Vidura always used to speak in very philosophical terms, so Vidura started telling Yudhishthira that a weapon not made of steel or any other material element can be equally lethal, and therefore a person who knows this can protect himself. Not only that, he told Yudhishthira that fire can burn the body but not the soul, and one who takes care of his soul can protect himself. When he said words like this, people all thought, oh, Vidura, usually he keeps telling so many philosophical things like that about the soul, something he is telling Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira also heard silently, and then he took leave of Vidura, and all the Pandavas along with Kunti Devi started for Varanavata. After they had left the palace, Kunti Devi asked Yudhishthira, Vidura was telling something, he was telling soul, fire, something, weapon, not made of matter. What was he talking? I couldn't follow what he was saying. But Yudhishthira was very intelligent. He had grasped what Vidura had said. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj, he smiled and he said, there is a plan to set us on fire in Varanavata and to kill us. This is what Vidura has warned us. So we have to be very careful and we have to take steps to protect ourselves. Now, because Vidura and Yudhishthira, they also, as a part of diplomacy, did not want to openly confront Duryodhana and the Kauravas, they did not divulge that they had heard and they had come to know about the scheme of Duryodhana. Therefore, they went along with the plan of Duryodhana as if they did not know anything, and they reached Varanavata, and there Duryodhana had made all the arrangements by which they were received and they were housed in that house of shellac. Now, having reached the house of shellac, the Pandavas started staying there, and Duryodhana set into motion the second part of his plan to surreptitiously burn down the house of shellac with the Pandavas trapped inside. Now, what happened further? Please join us in our next episode of the Mahabharata to learn what happened to the Pandavas when the house of shellac was set afire. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.